name is Brian French, and to my right is my dad, Robert French. And we're here today to talk about some Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Inside the faith loop.
Great subject.
You know, I haven't said this in a while. If you're joining us this morning, wondering what's the faith loop? Well, it's not really anything. It's just something we kind of believe in as a matter of existence because it's what we're convinced of, and that's why we call it the faith loop. It's what we're convinced of because I believe life and existence is cyclical, not linear, as the world looks at existence in a linear fashion. I don't believe it. I believe it's very cyclical. And, even the earth is cyclical. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
In its physical form and its movement.
Yep.
Everything. Cyclical.
Just keeps on going around and around.
Yeah. It's not moving in a straight line. Where's it going?
Yeah. Yeah, if we started moving in a straight line, we'd run out of sun.
We either go into the sun or away from the sun. Either way, it's bad.
It's bad. Yeah. Get out there too far, you're going to get cold.
Either way, it's bad. But a while back, we talked about this thing. It's not a name of anything. It's a descriptive, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a description of, what we're convinced of. And we're convinced of the life that Jesus came and showed us, created by the Father in mankind. Man is not the designation of the male. It's the designation of the species, man. And he created man. We say, because it's what it says. He created man, male and female. Well, so it's a woman, a man with a womb.
That's what the word means.
Yeah, that's female version of mankind, and you have the male version of mankind. It's very simple, but see, you don't accept the Genesis narrative, so there you go. You have to accept that. If you don't, it's up to you.
Yep.
But that's the way it works. So there's one thing we're convinced of. The other is the fact that we're convinced of the image and likeness of Jehovah and what we were created to be in those three things. And it in our understanding, our knowledge, and who we are, that develops our character, mm-hmm. our nature, our being, or our nature and character, and is expressed outwardly by the physical presence that is that same image as our Father. Yes, I said that. He's not incorporeal. I think that is one of the most foolish things I've ever heard. The biblical narrative does not bear it out. Not at all. So, that's why we say the faith loop. That's what we're convinced of. And hopefully people ask, why the faith loop? Well, let me explain. And I would much rather explain than try and sum up, because I think we've been trying to sum up Christianity or Jesus for a long time. And in the summation, we're
gets
trying,
a little shaky.
It does. We created Christianity because we're trying to sum everything up rather than explain it in the proper context. And this is what we've gotten. And the problem is now, where is truth? It's been lost, hasn't it?
Yep.
I believe it has, Dad.
Yeah. Much of it. Much
Right?
of it, yeah. Yep. In the guise of what we call Christianity.
Yeah. So our biggest challenges, I think, that are in front of us when we talk about truth. What is truth? Well, it's my truth. This is my truth and whatnot. I didn't know truth was subjective.
Or just belonging to me.
But that's a philosophical construct.
Yes, it is.
In the world, that truth is subjective.
Right.
How can truth be subjective?
People say it all the time.
Yes. I don't even that to me doesn't even make sense. How can Well, but I find this to be interesting because I've had this and it just popped back in my head. I hadn't thought about this for a while. But see, if truth then is subjective, and like I said, well, it's mine, then I can subject other people to my form of truth. Mm-hmm. And that is really what is happening and has been happening throughout the earth for the last however many thousands of years. Agreed?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look at ancient times when they fought wars, okay, with each other. What was the one thing that was behind it and in the minds of these people? Well, yeah, they wanted the land or they wanted what they had or the goods or stuff, but yet in all of it, they would try to subject the people to their gods, their truth.
Yep.
And so that's exactly it. That's what, and today, okay, you got a gang out here. You know, we just shipped one back to wherever. And El Salvador, somewhere like that. And what was their truth? They believed in going in and taking over people's homes, houses, stealing, killing, raping, doing whatever they wanted to do. That was their truth. Well, you say, well, that's not, yeah, that was their truth. So what are you fussing with them about?
Exactly. You can say what you want. You can say what you want to, but that's true.
It is. That was their truth. That's the way they lived.
That's their subjective, and they subject people to what they have decided to be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But then on the other side of that, the other side of the coin is objective truth. Well, wait a minute. Then we have, as one famous comedian said, you generalizing.
Yeah. 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 What's it sound like to both of us?
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere.
And that's the thing. So, but who decides what the object is?
Right.
And that's the argument then. Rather than, see, because an objective truth is something outside of everybody else.
Right.
Well, I believe that. I believe it is objective. Because then it's an object that I have to obtain.
Right.
Well, in one respect, I will give the Enlightenment thinkers credit for that, because they did switch in some ways from a subjective thought process of truth to an objective thought process of truth. Problem is, the object still wasn't right. Natural law became the objective. And this is what Western civilization was built upon, especially this nation, the United States of America. Built on an objective truth known as natural law. Mm-hmm. So in natural law, you can see nature's God. And so therefore there's a creator. Mm-hmm. And that's all they deal with.
Right.
And then there's people that go, well, I believe in natural law, but I don't believe there was a creator. I believe that it was like this. And okay, so now we're eking subjectivity back into the process, because the objectivity is still a matter of our own subjective thought. And we subject people to the same things. That's what mankind does. Since the knowledge of good and evil, truth has become a subjective opportunity for people to dictate what they believe life is.
Right. Exactly. You know, mankind has, for years, since creation, since Adam, has believed that he could go his own way.
Right.
And we have set up these these systems or rules or things that way we think to support it.
Right.
And what you were saying, subjective truth. Well, I've traveled a lot in the world. I've been a lot of
Been a few
places in
places,
the world.
right?
Yeah, I've been a few places. And you know what's always interesting to me is what we call truth here, or what we call law, or what we call anything here, isn't that way in other areas.
Other parts of the world, yeah.
They're totally different.
Especially outside of Western civilization.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're totally different. So what is their truth?
Right.
In the Middle East, they still have honor killings.
Mm-hmm.
They believe that's true.
Right.
It's a truth to them. They have a right to do it. This is what they...
Sharia law.
Yeah, it's Sharia law. They believe in that truth. Well, I don't. What are we doing? We have so, well, for the lack of a better term, messed up our way of thinking that it's absolutely pitiful. I mean, it's pitiful. It's taking us to our own destruction.
That's a great segue, Dad.
Huh?
Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy.
Okay.
Because you said, what we know.
Yeah.
So what is truth? And then that becomes knowledge, right?
Right.
Because then you look at, well, how do I know? And this has been the study of things for many years.
Yep.
It's called epistemology. It's the study of knowledge. This is from the it's called at the top. It's Knowledge How, and this is from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Stanford University.
Right.
The one in Palo Alto, California. Of philosophy. It says an introductory class to epistemology. In introductory classes, I learn how to read to epistemology. We are taught to distinguish between three different kinds of knowledge. The first kind is acquaintance knowledge. We know our mothers, our friends, our pets, etc. by being acquainted with them. The second kind is knowledge of facts, propositional knowledge, or knowledge that. This is the sort of knowledge we acquire when we learn that, say, Ithaca is in New York State, or that Turin is located in Italy. It is customary to add to the list it is customary to add to the list a third kind of knowledge that is supposed to be distinct both from acquaintance knowledge and from propositional knowledge. One possesses this knowledge when one can be truly described as knowing how to do something. Play the piano, make a pie, walk, speak, create, build, and so on. The distinction between knowledge how and knowledge that was brought to scrutiny in analytic philosophy by Ryle in his seminal The Concept of the Mind, written in 1949. Okay. Again, see, he sets these things there. I just read you that first piece. This is how it works. This is what I'm talking about, subjective. He sets that. We're saying, okay, so knowledge can be objective. It's acquaintance. It's that's that. Propositional. That's that. But then this guy Ryle comes along and says, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about all this knowledge thing. I'm going to scrutinize it. Because after all, I know.
Yeah. Well,
And this is what we do.
I'll take a look at it.
This is what people have problems with Jesus, with the Bible. And they look at this and, is it true that Jesus rose from the dead? See, and it has converted some people to Christianity, which is tragic in and of itself. They're not necessarily born again. They're converted to the institution because one of the more famous is the author Lee Strobel, who was a former journalist. He was a lawyer and writer for the Chicago Tribune, wrote law opinion, and he admits it himself in his book, The Case for Christ, that he was an atheist, and his wife became a believer. I don't know to what extent, and that's why I put it that way.
Right.
And she started talking to him about Jesus. And he's like, his mind, which I think is fascinating personally, that to me is kind of the way I look at it. Well, why should I believe in this Jesus? And he went and started investigating. He investigated it. He went through it. And here is a gentleman, and this is what I find is fascinating, and there's more people that have done this. Here's a highly intelligent individual, one that is not prone to what we would call spirituality.
No.
Right?
Right. Not at all.
And says, well, and he did it at first to combat what she was saying.
Right.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to prove that he didn't rise from the dead. It's all nonsense. And in the end, he's like, there's too much proof in history that this man, Jesus, whoever he was, rose from the dead.
Yeah.
That's one of the more, and I know people have tried, and then of course they poo-poo and they're like, oh, he's crazy and whatnot. It's true. You go look at history. The biblical narrative says it. There's extra biblical narrative that talk about it. He's went through it. Yeah, if you could, it's a great, interesting read. The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. Go read it. It's an interesting read. So how do you know? What's the objective? See, I can look out into the sky and go, what? I know it's there.
Yeah.
But how did I get here? And this has been the issue because we have so subjected ourselves to the knowledge of good and evil, the pursuit of defining good and evil for ourselves, that we have lost the objective. We've lost the initiative of the objective, I should say. And this is what's problematic. And this is the other thing that I feel is a much more stunning tragedy, is that when we institutionalized Christianity, we definitely lost the initiative. They changed the objective in the person of Jesus, because this was the key. The linchpin to it all is the person of Jesus. Because then, is he a man? Is he God? And instead of saying one or the other, and you could, they combined it. He's fully man, fully human. This is what it is. And it's very Greek. It's very pagan in its origins. Jesus is the second Adam, second man, created in the womb of a woman by the Father to represent his image and likeness, both physically, even though he was born into this corruption, physically, mentally, and in character. And Jesus did that. We must emulate that as we await the restoration of our physical being into its former glory. And it's not incorporeal, it's corporeal. Adam was a corporeal being. Well, that was just a shell. That wasn't what God wanted. Yes, it was. That's his image and likeness. That's his image. It's his form. I think he's pretty fond of himself.
That's the way he made it.
I'm just saying. He made us look like him.
Yeah.
Physically too, folks. Oh, you can accept that. That's the objective truth. And if we don't start there, because that's what it says in the Genesis narrative.
That's what it says.
So we do have an objective truth. But that wasn't good enough for us, Dad.
No. Well, to your point, there are these Christian institutions, and they have theologians in Bible schools that will tell you the book of Genesis is just a myth.
Analogy.
It's an analogy or a myth or whatever, a fairy tale.
Yeah, Pop.
That's what they'll tell you.
Allegory. There it is.
It's an allegory, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's true, then why do you believe anything? You're basing it on nothing.
Now we're back to subjective
Truth.
Yep.
Well, no, that didn't happen. Well, I know because Genesis, if you read the English translations of Genesis, yeah, it seemed like a fairy tale. You know, he ate apple and no. We need to understand the translators went to the word tree there in ancient Hebrew has a meaning of counsel. It can mean a tree.
Yep.
But it also has the meaning of counsel. What was Eve being subjected to? Counsel.
The counsel of the adversary.
The counsel of the adversary. What did he do? He came to her and said this. In the day, well, what was the apple then? He said to eat the apple. Well, no, the fruit was knowledge. In the day that you eat of this, in the day that you become...
you take on this thought process.
You take on this thought process,
Yeah.
and you do it, then there's going to be a problem.
Because the adversary just turned truth around and subjected man to the knowledge of good and evil and the pursuit of it.
And the pursuit of it. And it's been good, hasn't it?
Well, you know, we got a few things to work out, but
Yeah, we got to make America great again.
we got a few things to work out still, but
Yeah, we got to work it out, man.
we're doing okay.
So far, so good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't help it. It's just kind of comical. You know, and here's the other thing, Dad. When we look at the word epistemology on the etymology online dictionary, it's meaning, it's where it comes from, the different languages, how we got here. Theory of knowledge, 1856. The theory of knowledge. Theory of knowledge, folks. Theory.
Just a theory, huh?
He was theorizing. He was sitting out there contemplating, and it was coined by the Scottish philosopher James F. Ferrier. Sitting around staring at the stars going, I wonder where they came from. From Greek, episteme, knowledge, acquaintance with something, skill, experience. From Ionic Greek, episthethe, know how to do, understand, literally overstand. From epi, over, and histothe, which is to stand. From the pi root, stay, sta, to stand, make, or be firm. The scientific, as opposed to philosophical, study of the roots and paths of the epistemics. Or epistemics. I want to show you something, because the pi root stay, to stand, make, or be firm. Now, this is the ancient Greek, right? Well, let's look at the ancient Hebrew. This is from Jeff Benner and the word truth. Knowledge, right? We're talking about knowledge here. The word truth in Greek, the reference is G2476, stand, or G225, truth. You have these two words that are in the biblical narrative. I didn't bring my book over, but there is a great word dictionary that Jeff Benner did. It takes the 500 most frequently used words of the Greek New Testament and brings them into where they fit with it, or how they were used to translate from the Hebrew words, because you have the Septuagint. Mm-hmm. So he took the Septuagint, looked at all the Greek words in the New Testament, and matched them to how they translated the Septuagint, which is the Old Testament version or Greek version of the Torah or the Tanakh. Well, actually the Torah, just the Torah. So, and he brings them in and says, this is what they used here and what they used here. So we have a frame of reference.
Right.
I thought it's one of the best tools, I think, out there to understand, because he really said you can't look at this. He says we're reading the biblical narrative from a Western cultural standpoint.
Right. Viewpoint.
Even in the day those letters were written, these people lived in the East. That was only changed much later. So looking at this from that cultural standpoint, understanding the language is not speech, it's thought. And then it's brought out in speech, so you have to understand why they were saying things. It can be nuanced at times, okay? That's why you hear these boobs up there in Washington flapping gums, ain't saying a whole lot.
No.
How come he did that? Because he never told you. His mind, his language is completely different than what his speech.
Yeah. Talk 30 minutes and still don't know what the man said.
No. Still don't know his mind.
No. Don't know his mind. Mm-mm.
But the word truth comes from the strong reference in the Hebrew H571. And it means firm. Anciently. Wait a minute. Wait, what? Hang on. Know how to understand literally overstand. Epi, over near. Histathai, to stand. Wait. Or stand, make, be firm. Truth has always been that. This was the counsel, the two counsels. What is truth? What is it? What's going to help us stand and be firm? Being righteous. To stand, to be right, to be upright.
Right.
These are all words common within the Scripture.
Yes.
And here we have it. And this is the meaning of this, because concretely, this word truth is kind. Well, again, another adulteration of a word. The word kind. Well, he was so kind to me. That person was. But if a person treats you badly, that person was so kind to me. It's still the same meaning. Do you know that? We've changed the meaning of the word kind. But the word kind in and of itself is about a species. So when you say that person was kind to me, he was showing you what kind of person he is. What kind of species. The kind. But we've turned it to kindness. So when Jehovah shows us kindness, he's not just going, it's so nice, you're so nice. He gave me a blanket. That's kindness. No, it's not kindness. If you're cold and they give you a blanket, they gave you an answer. They've shown you compassion. But to understand the kind of a person you are, to show your kindness, to show kindness, means to show who you are as a person.
Right. Exactly.
What kind of person are they? And we have completely and utterly destroyed that.
Well, and we use that term to explain everything else. Like, what kind of apple is that? Is it a Washington Delicious? Is it a Granny Smith? Is it a this or that? What kind?
And
of
what if that apple is sour?
Yeah. What kind of grape is that? What kind of steak is that? What kind?
It's a species.
What kind of animal is that?
And it's interesting that this word truth in the Hebrew, this is the word, kind. Wait, what? Because it's a matter of defining existence. That's what truth is. We talk about objective truth.
Right.
The objective is image and likeness. It's throughout the scripture. We just don't pay attention because we have adulterated ourselves so badly and subjected mankind, both male and female, to whatever we believe is the truth.
Yep.
What our image and likeness
True.
is. Make America, Donald Trump, man, we got to be more like him. No, that's bad. That's not the kind of person I want to be. I have to emulate Jesus because he's the one that came to show us the way of truth that leads to life. I haven't heard that out of the mouths of those politicians. Interesting. The pictograph, this is from the ancient pictographs. But this first pictograph is the picture of water or other liquids such as blood. And then you have the picture of a seed representing continuance. Combined, these mean blood continues. So where do we find truth, my friends? We only find it in where the blood continues. And the only one we know that has come from the Father, full of grace and truth, full of grace and truth. Well, there's that other word, grace. Well, see, grace, we got, no, grace is just another term for the house. Full of the house, the tabernacle. Don't you know, have we not heard, don't you know that you are the temple or the tabernacle of Jehovah? Well, see, Jesus lives in me. No, that's not what it means. You are his image and likeness. You are a representation, an exact and express image. That's what Paul said in Romans. That's what the writer of Hebrews, both of them expressed it in their opening of those letters. He is the express image of Jehovah, the express glory. Yes, the physical had not come yet. That's what we're waiting on. The changing, the moment, Paul said, in the twinkling of an eye, when this mortality will put on immortality. That's not a change from corporeal to incorporeal. It's a change of existence in our physical being that says we won't die.
Right.
That's what it says. That's the expectation. But we first have to come and understand the objective truth. And we have subjected, the world has subjected mankind to a lie, to the knowledge of good and evil in whatever form it is. And that includes all the institutions of faith. That includes the institutions of government. And if we're not willing to strip all these things away, then we're not going to see the objective and work toward it.
Right.
That's what I got.
Exactly right. You know, when Paul said that, it was an absolute tremendous instruction.
Yeah.
And he said it to Hebrews as well as Gentiles.
I believe so.
What were the Hebrews so involved in that Paul said that? The temple.
Mm-hmm.
When they first built one, when David first asked, let me build you a house. Yeah. And the Lord said, did I ever ask you to build me a house? Now, well,
I've been hanging out with you the whole time, bro.
Yeah, but he let them go ahead and he told Solomon, yeah, they built it. It was destroyed several times, desecrated.
Yep.
And now they're trying to rebuild it again. Mm-hmm. Don't you know Don't you understand?
We don't. We still don't, Dad. And we're doing it in Christianity. We built how many temples have we built?
Yeah. And then the Lord says, I'm not going to put my name in the building anymore.
Yeah.
I'll write my name in their hearts.
I think that was even through the prophet Jeremiah. Way
back there. Yeah, way back there. It wasn't a New Testament guy, as we call it. You know, what is it? Why is it so hard for us to understand these things? Because we, as the world is today, institutional Christianity has changed it all.
Yeah.
They have become the temple.
They've made themselves the object.
Yes, they've made themselves the object and the temple. No, it isn't. They are not the object. They are not the temple. Which one?
Yeah.
Which of the church buildings that they build does God dwell in? But they'll tell you this is the house of God.
Well, he's omnipotent. He's everywhere all the time.
He's everywhere.
No,
He's everywhere. You know, this is the house of God. Don't come in here and eat or do anything like that. You know, we have to eat in the outer room out here. You know.
But now that's kind of, well, as long as, I guess bring it in the sanctuary. But, we got the coffee shops now.
Oh, yeah. We got
them working.
Oh, yeah. We got it working, man. You can have breakfast, coffee.
Yeah.
Everything.
Which I don't think is all that horrible. I really don't.
No, it's not that bad. I got coffee right here.
That's right.
But this building
I need a coffee and cruller stat.
Right. This building we're in is not the temple of the Lord. Mm-hmm. It's a building.
Yep.
It's made of materials, man-made materials that we've made, and some that God made, wood and things like that. We built it. We put it all together.
Yeah, we just shaped it.
We shaped it, put it up, and it keeps the cold away, keeps the heat away in the summer. Mm-hmm. And we can come in here and worship. We can come in here and praise the Lord. We can come in here and hear His Word. We can come in here and fellowship one with another. Mm-hmm. But we're the temple.
Yes.
As Brian said, made in the express image of Jehovah. Yeah. That's what it says. That's what it says. Why is it so hard to understand that? It's what it says. I've said this many times. Why don't we just throw our Bible away and forget it?
But Dad, you've been doing this a long time, and just in that statement, right? And I'm not, and this is the hard thing because I know sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. I'm not just trying to be a fan, but think about the thought process here. We talk about fear, but it's not just fear. Is just is listening, is reverencing something. That's the true. We've changed it to terror. Mm-hmm. But I believe that most people live in terror. We've created that. That's the only way you can subjugate people.
Right. Make them afraid.
Through terror.
Yeah, you're going to hell.
Right?
Yeah. You better get saved tonight. You're going to hell. Yeah. We use fear tactics instead of what Jesus did.
And then we have swung it because then there's the people like, that's wrong. I agree. But then the pendulum swings. We don't stop at the truth. We just swing right on by it. Well, God loves everybody. He just doesn't matter. You're just going to love, and everybody's going to heaven. Just get on the ship. We're all going. Doesn't matter what. We're terrorizing people, or the subjectivity is either one extreme or the other.
Right, but nothing ever right here.
There's never the objective within the truth, right?
Never the balance. Never a balance. We, as Brian said, we either way over here, and then if we hear something that's more true, we don't stop at the truth. We go and swing way over here and make it into something else that it isn't.
Yeah.
And it's deception on both ends.
Because we're still eating from the wrong tree.
Wrong tree. Absolutely. Still eating the wrong fruit. And you know what Jesus, he said fruit of your lips. Mm-hmm. Well, is that an apple? An orange? What is that? These were allegorical statements that he used to express a truth.
Truth, right.
The fruit of your lips. What is the fruit of your lips? What comes out of your mouth? And it should come from here, and it should be truth. It shouldn't be something that I'm telling somebody and I don't really believe it myself, or I'm trying to hide myself, or this and that. No. Say what's true. It's who I am. Accept me or don't. Believe me or don't. But that's who I am. And I'm not trying to hide myself from you. I'm going to tell you what I think, tell you what I believe. As you said, politicians get up and talk for a half hour and you still don't know what they said. Watch them. Watch a news conference. Somebody asks a question.
There's no answer.
10 minutes and he still didn't answer it, walked all the way around it, but didn't answer it.
No.
I mean, it was a simple answer, yes or no. Some of them are just simple. It could be yes or no. Well, I did, and go on and on and on. And I've sat there and wondered, when are you ever going to answer the question? When are you going to answer the question? They're not going to.
No, because then they'd have to be held accountable.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And heaven forbid we take responsibility for anything.
Yeah. Dear Lord, help us to do that.
Well, and tomorrow, it's a good segue again. That's two, Dad. We're going to talk about that because I think that's the thing. What is the answer? And we've always said Jesus is the answer. And tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit about that and understand that. You got some comments?
Yeah, your mom put something on here I think's good. I believe that Jehovah intentionally brought Jesus into the world to let man know that he can do what Jehovah had planned for man to do, to be in the garden.
Absolutely. Exactly right. Exactly right. That's the point.
Jesus came to show us what Adam was intended to be.
That's what reconciliation means. We have to be conciliatory to what is the objective truth.
Absolutely.
So we weren't, we stomped on it, so now we have to reconcile that. We have to reconcile with our Father and say, no, you're right, this is the object of existence.
Yep.
And I will reject and abandon those things that are of the knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, folks. Of the knowledge of good and evil, and I will not perpetrate that offense against my Father no longer.
Right, exactly right.
That's the truth, folks. That's truth. We hope that it helps you think. We hope that these things are helping you come to an understanding of the knowledge of the Father, where these things are within the Bible, how it really comes out at us and the truth of it. And putting aside the adulteration that has been created within the institution of faith that we call Christianity, and come to the knowledge of the truth of Jesus and the answer that he has brought us that means life. So again, tune in tomorrow. We do appreciate you being with us. Hope everybody have a great day in the Lord. And I almost said it. And always remember to give love,
give life,
and give Jesus.